Voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah. It's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for an instrument,
Independence Day celebration.
no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
John, getting off to kind of a rough start this morning. You know what I think it is? Because I am doing a fake Friday. Don't you agree that's sort of like a fake Friday?
Brad, until you just mentioned that it's not Friday, I swear I thought it was Friday. And when the first intro played, I'm like, well, isn't it Friday? Shouldn't it be Friday? I completely thought today was Friday, Brad.
It's a fake Friday, John. It's to the point where, unless you want to do the show tomorrow, I'll be more than happy to do it, but I don't think you do.
Absolutely not, Brad. I will be doing JohnCombest.com as always, but I will not be on the radio with you tomorrow morning.
I knew that was going to be the case. How did I know that was going to be the case? Okay, this is the BJ Show. It's July 3rd, 2025. I mentioned that because a lot of people listen to the show in the future on our podcast platform, which you can reach at bjshow.co, on our video podcast for platform, which is bjshow.us. And that's why I mention this, because sometimes, and you know what, John, it drives me nuts for those of us in the radio business. And it happened on our station to the point where when they put the best of shows together, like we run Armstrong and Getty through the week, Monday through Friday, and then we do, and this was not an Armstrong and Getty mistake, but this was, to me, it was a mistake, but this was a Eric Erickson mistake, and then he's on noon to 3, and then 3 to 6 we have Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. But they put a best of show, and the best of show is a show that's talking about something that's already happened, or that's going to happen that's already happened. Does that make sense? You would think.
Yeah, it does. And you're like, when was this show recorded? This doesn't even make sense right now.
They're talking about, well, they're gonna try to get it through the Senate, and it's already been through the Senate. It's like, dudes, I mean, come on. It's Friday. Think about it for a minute. If you're going to run a best of show, don't run something that has already been outdated. Run something that's still somewhat current. That's why I mentioned the date. Now, what we do, especially on Friday, is John Combest, normally we introduce him. We say, hey, this is John Combest. He's a great guy. He's a wonderful guy. He's got this incredible website. He's like the Matt Drudge of Missouri. But on Friday, we do a special intro to John, which is like...
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
It is the John Combest Top 3. Here he is. And what we do is we bring this guy in right now. What's your name, sir?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what do you do?
Now on with the countdown.
And we start with?
In third place.
Brad, it's appropriate that you did a fake Friday with the Barbershop Quartet, because every time you and I hear the Barbershop Quartet, we think of growing up in beautiful Spanish Lake, Missouri. We think of what was once Ronnie's Barbershop, and in my era, Spanish Lake Barbershop, right there at beautiful and affordable Bell Park Plaza. And when you talk about North St. Louis County, particularly in the 2000s, you think about Gina Walsh. Gina Walsh was a state senator, a Democrat, a big Union Democrat that hailed from Bellefontaine Neighbors. And Gina just had a big retirement party, Brad. And that's story number 3 today, because I don't think in our entire time doing the show, we talked about or cited a story from the St. Louis Labor Tribune. You remember how important the Labor Tribune used to be in North County, Brad?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, we had all the pipe fitters and all the different crafts up there in North County.
Absolutely. It was the unofficial paper, but forget the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. We had the Labor Tribune up there. The headline from Tim Rowden, editor-in-chief at the Labor Tribune. Insulators Local 1, Missouri AFL-CIO, Governor Mike Kehoe celebrate Gina Walsh's trailblazing career. That's right, the governor came to beautiful North County, if you consider Bridgeton to be North County, came to North County to celebrate the career and the retirement of State Senator Gina Walsh. Brad, Gina was one of, I think, the very last white representatives / senators to represent the North St. Louis County area. And it really is the end of an era, Brad. I don't think we'll ever see, at least in our lifetime, another white person represent the Bell Fountain neighbors, the Riverview Gardens area. And this was a real tribute to her career. Mike Kehoe, in this piece in the Labor Tribune, talks about how when he was leading Republicans in the Senate in Missouri, Gina Walsh was the leader for the Democrats. So he gave the praise of how hard-nosed she was, how honest she was, and really how they had so much in common because they were both straight shooters and they both wanted the best for the state of Missouri, even though they were coming at it from different political sides. So it's rare that we cite the Labor Tribune, Brad. You know, it's officially a publication of the unions of Southern Illinois and of the St. Louis area, but a fitting tribute to Gina Walsh, a good, fairly conservative Democrat from Bell Fountain neighbors.
You know, and boy, things have just changed so much. I mean, you know, once again, you look back and, you know, John, when's the last time you were in North County? Be honest with me. When's the last time you were in North County?
Be honest. Why wouldn't I be honest?
Well,
I probably haven't been to Spanish Lake in, gosh, I don't know how many years it's been since I've driven through there, Brad. Probably, I don't know, 4 or 5. No, actually, I take that back. I was probably up there because I used to get my hair cut up there until Spanish Lake Barbershop closed. And Dale closed 3 years ago, I want to say. And so I used to go up there every month to get my hair cut, but I haven't been up there in probably 2-3 years.
Yeah, you know what? I can't even bring myself to drive by my old house. I go in North County. I'm probably in North County once a week, John. I mean, you know, imagine that. But see,
but aren't you like more around Hazelwood or Florissant though? Like you don't have occasion to go to Spanish Lake, right?
Oh yeah, I drive up in that area. I mean, you know, when I go through 270 in Illinois and things like that. I mean, but see,
do you get off at Bell Fountain or Lilac?
Pretty personal question, John. I mean,
I figured you still had a few girlfriends over there in Countryside, Brad, or maybe Raintree.
Yes, those.
Didn't we all have a girl at Raintree, Brad?
Yes. No, I won't say that. Okay, I'll get myself in trouble. Okay, time for number 2.
Up a notch to number 2.
Talking about getting yourself in trouble, Brad, you know who didn't get themselves in trouble yesterday was Brad Hildebrand. Because he called Mark McCloskey on the phone. That's in B Block yesterday as part of Brad's Top 3. And you talked to Mark about how he had his record sealed or expunged or however Mark portrays it and however the court portrays it. But thinking about Mark McCloskey yesterday, it was by pure happenstance. I saw a tweet from the great Camelia Peterson. And she was tweeting about, or Xing about, as the case may be, Vernon County, Missouri. Brad, do you remember, I'm going to put you on the spot, why we talked a lot about Vernon County last year?
Yes, because Mark McCluskey was involved in that because he was doing the purity test campaign down in Vernon County.
Brad, what a spinster. I believe it was called candidate vetting, and I know you're opposed to it, so you call it a purity test. You're once again thinking about your women from Raintree, Brad. But here's the gist of it. KODE, which is down in Joplin, Channel 12, here's a headline from those folks. Ex-Vernon County GOP chair faces election law charges. Now, Brad, I'm going to jog your memory because I needed to jog my own in catching up on this case. The woman who led the Republican Party down there was a woman named Cynthia Haggard, not to be confused with Cynthia Haggard, or not to be confused with Merle Haggard. Cynthia Haggard is charged with 1 count of election interference after attorneys with the Secretary of State's office found she impeded the August 2024 election verification process. And if you recall, Brad, this woman, Mrs. Haggard, was in the courthouse when votes were being counted. So she was on the ballot. She was seeking to be reelected as Vernon County Republican chair, and she was in the courtroom, and you cannot be in the courtroom it says she was not supposed to be involved in the certification process. She faces up to a year in jail time and a fine of no more than $25,000 if convicted. Now, KODE notes, Haggard was not reelected to her precinct committee position and has no position with the county Republican committee. So if I misspoke earlier, Brad, I should have said the election was not for who would be chair of the Vernon County Republican Central Committee. She lost her election to be precinct committee woman. I think they actually mean township committee woman. And therefore, she could not be reelected again. If she's not on the central committee, she can't be elected to be chair. Now, the most curious thing about this whole story, Brad, is that the story notes that she has no official position with the county Republican committee, but that she has not relinquished control of the committee. Now, that's not in the transcript of this KODE piece, but I actually watched the KODE piece because it features a cameo from Mark McCloskey in a courtroom. But also, Brad, the story notes that she has not relinquished control. So I'm not sure exactly what that means. I'm not sure if that means that she's still holding meetings and declining to acknowledge anyone else as being the chair of the County Republican Central Committee.
You know, that whole thing is just weird. I mean, I'll say again, I am surprised Mark McCluskey's involved in that, because to me, I think he would fail the purity test. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Brad. And as we've discussed before, though, I think to me, it's not about giving one person or another stamp of approval. It's just because, Brad, if you were running as a Republican in Boone County, let's say Boone County might be a little bit more progressive, or let's say progressive Republicans took over in Boone County and you ran on the People's Republic of Boone County, they might say, Brad, we think you're a little too right wing. You are not going to get our stamp of approval.
Well, to me, that's the whole problem. The whole problem is let the voters decide, especially in a primary. That's what primaries are for, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so, Brad. Now, I think McCloskey would make the argument that you could still run and still be on the ballot, but you wouldn't get I don't know. I mean, to be honest, Brad, playing devil's advocate is hard here because I don't really see what McCloskey's argument is.
Okay, you've heard me say this before. This is what frustrates me about a political system. It's like going down and John's going to roll his eyes. Here he goes again with his C.J. Muggs stories.
Brad, what's that restaurant in Clayton?
C.J. Muggs. You go to county courthouse in St. Louis County and you see two attorneys just, wailing at each other in court. Your Honor, that defense attorney is blasphemous. They're going back and forth, and you think, they're going to go out in the hall and they're going to be, fisticuffs going to turn out in the hall. 5 o'clock rolls around, case is adjourned for the day. C.J. Muggs, the two guys out there who 20 minutes earlier were fighting it out in the courthouse are now slapping each other in the back. Oh, Bill, I love when you said that. Oh, Jim, that was so. It's all kabuki. You know what I'm saying? It's kabuki.
I get exactly what you're saying, Brad.
And when you get a third party involved, then they go, the Democrats and the Republicans gang up and go like, well, we don't want him. He's not playing by the rules. You have to be a Republican or a Democrat. You can't be a third party. Ross Perot, what a terrible person he was. Look what he did. He ruined the election. That kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying, John?
And the worst part is Ross Perot kept talking about that giant sucking sound coming from Mexico, which actually led to your very first ever trip to Tijuana.
Well, and the sad part of it was he was right. You know what I'm saying? The giant sucking sound from Mexico and the giant sucking sound from China. Let's be honest about that, right, John? You're not going to touch that one, huh?
Well, Brad, when it comes to giant sucking sounds, I can tell you that's something in story number one.
So we must move on.
The number one
headline from the Jefferson City News Tribune, which will bring a tear of joy to your eye, Brad, because you do a lot of traveling every weekend. MoDOT to pause construction over holiday weekend. Now, Brad, this isn't too far out of the ordinary because I went back and looked, and in previous years, MoDOT, because of the traffic construction, actually shuts down most construction over the July 4th weekend. You know, a lot of folks go to Lake of the Ozarks. Maybe you go to Branson. Maybe you go to Table Rock. Maybe you go take a ride above Miss Augusta. I said above. That was a Freudian slip. Maybe you go take a ride aboard Miss Augusta. But most years, MoDOT shuts down construction at noon prior to July 4th. So according to my calculations, Brad, approximately noon today, you're going to see MoDOT workers just taking a little break, heading home for the weekend, so that when they change lanes, you know, when there's a little lane construction, your trip to the lake and your trip on major thoroughfares will not be shut down this weekend.
That's it? That's the number one story?
That's the number one, Brad. It's good news for everyone. See, here's the point, Brad. I wanted to take you on a roller coaster today. We would start high with Gina Walsh and reminiscence of what it was like when white people represented North St. Louis County. Then we would go low. We would talk about a criminal prosecution of a county Republican Central Committee chair. And then we'd go high again, knowing that Brad can continue to putt-putt through construction zones and not worry about running over a worker.
I like the way you put things. Not running over a worker. Thank God we're not running over a worker.
Yeah,
right.
You'd spend time in jail knowing how quickly you throw back Jack Daniels when you're driving, Brad. And let's face it, there was 0.0 chance that any of these three stories would be in Brad's top three, which we can hear in B Block today.
You know, I've got a bunch of stuff, and you know, we're actually a little bit early this morning. Can I give what, what if you listen to in the old days, what do I call it? An AT40 extra. It wasn't on the top 40, but it was close to being on top 40.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
I will give you, and I can find it real quick here. Someone sent me this email yesterday, and it was pretty damn funny. Let me see if I can find it.
We got a little bit of feedback on the Rainbow event yesterday, didn't we, Brad?
Yes, we did.
I think you shouldn't read the person's email address on the air because we don't want them being harassed or anything like that.
Yeah, that came in my on my email address that I don't ever mention on this station. So somebody knows who I am, and they have my Brad at KSOQ address,
or they looked you up,
or they looked me up.
Pretty simple Google
okay.
search would probably
okay. Let me see if I can
that,
find
right?
this. I will tell you why you and I are not. You know what? I can't find it right now. So let's carry it over. We'll start the B block early. It involves our friends, the Hoffmanns, and John.
Oh yeah, Brad, because somebody forwarded you an email about the Hoffmanns, right?
Yes, I sent it to you too, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
And it's. The reason that John and I are not multimillionaires, or in the case of the billionaires, is because we don't do what the Hoffmanns do. And you know what that is, John?
What's that?
BS.
I thought that press release was pretty great, Brad. And in fact, I know that as you looked for stuff to wear on July 4th weekend, you have a rush order placed into, is it Key Largo or is it Naples, Florida?
It's Naples, but
Naples, Florida.
the Augusta Clothing Company, which and what's funny is I know you don't look at my Twitter anymore, but I essentially put that up on Twitter yesterday, and I copied in John Lamping, and I said, John, what do you think? And you should have read his response. It was so funny.
Now, Brad, I am on your Twitter page now, and I just refollowed you because you've had such good behavior lately that I want to reward that behavior. And I see your recent tweets.
Did you read it?
I see spam stuff from the quarter butcher ribbon cutting, and then I see a video of you from 22 hours ago.
No. But you don't see the John Lamping thing?
No, I don't. I'm on your Twitter unless if I go to replies. Oh yeah, you replied. You at reply. So nobody else can see it except for John Lamping.
Right. And John Lamping, who is a resident of the Augusta area. I don't think he actually lives in Augusta, or does he? Does he actually live in the city of Augusta?
If I knew, I wouldn't tell you.
Okay. Anyway, it involves the Hoffmanns and their clothing company in Augusta, and it made it. We'll talk. We'll do it in C Block, okay? Because
I love it.
Once again, if I conducted my personal business and my radio station business like the Hoffmanns do, I would be a millionaire. But Of course, I would feel bad because I would be lying to everybody, but that's a whole nother story.